Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in a place where you can stand for the pledge, please do, and please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Sajak, chairman of the Clark County Republican Party. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time tonight to join us. I'd like to start off on a solemn moment of respect for our friend Bob Soucy. As a lot of you know, Bob passed away recently, and we send our prayers to Julie Soucy in her time of need. Bob was a fearless worker for the CCRP, and we're surely going to miss him. One of the things we're trying tonight with this virtual meeting is to keep you informed and keep some momentum going so that we can go into the 2022 election cycle charged up. Obviously, a lot of us don't like the outcome, so we need to take that energy, angst, and whatever else you're feeling and move it into helping the Republican Party field and elect good candidates in 2022. One of the things that we've done really well is contingency planning here. This has been a tough year, as you all know, with COVID, and we've still been able to keep moving the Clark County Republican Party forward. I'd like to welcome Danny Villa as Acting Community Relations Director. Danny's a very energetic young guy, and he's going to do great things in this position. I also want to welcome Diana McLean as our acting secretary and tell her that we appreciate her energy and efforts in running that position. Enjoy the meeting tonight, and we certainly look forward to the time when we get to see you personally and in person. Have a great night.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Richard. Thanks for attending the meeting. Most of you probably received an email with the agenda. It's how you got here. I'm going to run through it really quickly anyway. Just to let you know, we won't be following the agenda in order. It's going to be covered throughout each of our board members and their updates. And so you will get the content, just it's not going to be something you're going to be able to follow along with the agenda, and I want to let you know that. So we're going to begin with an update about the regular membership meeting from our vice chair. We've got some questions, a lot of questions coming in about new membership. It's an exciting time for us. We're definitely seeing a lot of interest in not just the party, but the activities of the party and getting out in the field and doing things. And so that's going to be part of our discussion tonight. I'll cover the precinct director's update as well for Lois and incorporate that in the political update. We're going to talk about some of the projects that we've got coming and what we've been working on. We have an update on several of those, and then we will see if we can take questions from the chat room. If you could put a question that pertains to the group, that would be great. But if you have a question that is just pertaining to you or maybe not to the entire group, feel free to contact us on the website, and we will be happy to answer your question as soon as we can. I'm going to hand it off to the vice chair and get his update.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for our first virtual Clark County Republican Party General Membership event. Now, I say event because this is not a regular meeting. This evening's meeting is more of an informative event to keep everyone up to date with what's going on with the party during these unusual times. I and the current members of the board believe that keeping our members informed about what is going on is a vital role, especially in the absence of a regular meeting. Unfortunately, due to the restrictions imposed by Governor Sisolak, we have found ourselves in a position where we are not able to legally host our regular general membership meetings in person. Along with that, several members have reached out to us with ever-growing concerns about people's health and well-being, and that has been taken into account. I know that personally in the last week, 3 people I know, including my aunt, have passed away either from COVID-19 or complications related to the disease. At the end of the day, your well-being is a paramount concern to us. Now, many of you may ask why we don't just host our official meeting virtually. Well, I can tell you that the majority of the management team is in favor of doing just that. But prior to our last official membership meeting, the management team and the Board of Trustees took a vote about just that issue. And though the majority of the management team did support the measure, the majority of the former Board of Trustees did not. So, as it stands now, the state will not allow us to have our membership meetings in person due to COVID restrictions, and we are unable to have our meetings virtually. So, now you're probably wondering, what will we do if the current COVID restrictions are not lifted in the near future? Well, we as an organization are continuing to move forward to support our Republican officials, elected officials, and to fight back against policies that would hurt our state. We're also focusing on and preparing for municipal elections that will be occurring in Boulder City in the coming months, along with preparing for our 2021 Lincoln Day dinner and other great events, hopefully later this year. Should the state not allow for these events to occur, we will continue to push them back until we are able to have them. Now, when will we have our next actual membership meeting? As you may be aware, we have not canceled our January membership meeting, but just postponed it. We are regularly checking to see when the governor's restrictions will be loosened, and as soon as they are, we will move forward with a plan to restart our in-person meetings as soon as possible. Lastly, I'd like to touch on what that means for new members and for those interested in NRCC seats. Anyone who is not currently a member of the Clark County Party and is interested in joining can go to our website at clarkgop.org and fill out a membership application. This will start the process, and as soon as we're able to have our regular in-person meetings again, we will make sure to get them certified when they join us for their second in-person meeting. As for the current NRCC membership vacancies, we've filled a good portion of our delegates and will continue to fill the remainder of those seats at our next meeting and at the successive meetings after that until all of those positions are filled. We'll also be having an election at our next meeting for at least 2 positions on the board, and I'd like to take a moment just to thank both Diana Gomez, our acting secretary, and Danny Villa, our acting community relations director, for their hard work during these more than challenging times. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I look forward to seeing you all at our next general membership meeting in the very near future, and please be safe and be well. And thank you for joining us this evening.
Hello, Clark County. My name is Diana Gomez, and I'm the Acting Secretary for the CCRP. I've got a few quick things to go over with you. Because of COVID, we had our very first membership meeting way back in November of last year. Ordinarily, we would have had it 2 months after the convention. Because of that, I've received a large number of people asking why they aren't currently a member. So let's go through it. Every major political party is governed by Nevada revised statute. That means state law requires us to do certain things every 2 years. First, we have to have a precinct meeting and then a convention. Only those who attend the precinct meeting and then the convention are still members after the convention. In other words, our membership completely resets. So even if you were a member, you aren't anymore unless you attended both your precinct meeting and the convention. If you are an official candidate for public office, you might not have had to attend the precinct meeting, but you would have still needed to pay your delegate fee and complete your delegate form prior to the convention. If you're a candidate and you didn't do those things, you have to start over. I can understand your frustration if you were a member and you have to start from the beginning. But the good news is that is not difficult at all. Let's go through the process for those who need to begin again and those who are brand new members. For new members, for anyone who is looking to become a new member of the CCRP, we've made it easier than ever. Just go to the website and click on New Member Application. Fill it out, attend to meetings, that's it. But before you do, there are a few requirements. 1, you have to be a registered Republican residing in Clark County at the time you apply. 2, your voter registration has to be current, meaning the registration on file with the Secretary of State has to have your current address. Remember, you're applying to be elected to represent your precinct as a central committee member. That means your voter registration has to show your current address. If your address is not current, you can just go to the County Elections Department website or the Secretary of State's website and update your voter registration with your current address. Number 3, you have to apply with the name that is on your voter registration. If we cannot match your application to your voter registration, it may slow down the process or even restart the whole process, which we don't want you to have to do. Number 4, lastly, if you have attended 2 regular membership meetings after your application is submitted, meet all those 3 requirements and you're set. At your second meeting, you will be voted in as a member of the Clark County Republican Central Committee. What if you aren't sure if you're a member or not? What if you're not sure if you applied? What if you're not sure if your application has been accepted? If you have any doubt, the best thing you can do is follow the process I just described. Make sure your address is current on your voter registration. Complete the application on the website. It only takes a second. If your application is already in process, filling it out again won't set you back. You will still get credit if you attended the November meeting. It's just better to be safe than sorry. If you still have questions, please just go to our website. It's at the bottom of your screen, and use the Contact Us link to send us a message with your question and/or concern. As our Vice Chair explained at the beginning of this meeting, we will resume our regular membership meetings as soon as we can. If you applied and attended the meeting in November, you will be a member at the next meeting. If you're a brand new applicant, you need to attend only 2 meetings. So probably the January and March meetings or the March and May meetings if for some reason we don't get the state back up and running in time to have the January meeting. So that's it. That's the application process in a nutshell. But if you still have questions, please go to the website and use the Contact Us link. We'll get your question to the appropriate person and they'll contact you. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you all at the next membership meeting.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Stephen, for your update as well. We are at the point where we're going to start talking about the political piece. I'd like to go over a couple of the questions I'm seeing in the chat room. And I know, as David said in his opening remarks, we are at a place where people are looking for any and every outlet to express their frustration, and it's justifiable frustration. We're all feeling it. I've seen Mitch McConnell's name in the chat room and some other things, and I think these are all points that are well taken. Toying with the idea of putting together a town hall, my concern right now is that tempers are so hot and we've got the COVID situation, it becomes a little more difficult to get meaningful conversation out of it. I would very much appreciate, as your political director, if you could send me your thoughts. Feel free to email me. You all have my email address. It's the address that sent you the invite to this meeting. I would very much like to have a deeper discussion about this, because I think the least we could do as a party now, keeping in mind, of course, that the county party, we don't have a lot of sway with Mitch McConnell. And I'm not trying to be funny. There's a lot of people that seem to think that when you say Republican, we are all on each other's speed dial and we can just, pull them up and express ourselves. None of us are happy with the way things are going. We haven't been for a while, some of us. And so, but I definitely, as your political director, I'm interested in having that conversation and finding out what avenues we can pursue, because I think the frustration unanswered is probably the worst thing that I've seen over the last few years. And it's led to a lot of the disconnect and a lot of the problems that we're having. So there was another question about how to leverage the existing resources and groups. I mean, the Trump teams, and there's a ton of them here in Las Vegas, a ton of them across Clark County, and a ton of them across Nevada that have organized themselves through meetups and other things. And Lisa is exactly right. I don't want to see us lose that momentum. I will say there's a lot of frustration within those groups, as there should be. And so, they are also voices that need to be heard, and they're voices that need to have an outlet. And there's nothing better than a win after you've been disrespected the way the voters have, than Republicans have, and particularly Trump Republicans. So Lisa makes a good point. And I think when you look at some of what will be on my slides in a few minutes, Lisa will explain a little bit, and we'll talk about what we're going to be doing going forward. But the most important thing is to remember that the activities themselves, the things that we're planning, these are all funnels to put energy into, where we can put a specific focus back on elections, back on legislation, back on the things that the party is supposed to be doing. And it's your party. One of the posts that I put on the county page this week mentioned that if you leave the party, you're basically silencing yourself. You're basically blinding yourself. And that isn't meant as a slight to anybody's frustration. I'm as frustrated as anybody is. But what I don't want to see is a bunch of people leave, think that they're going to have a stronger voice, when in reality, by leaving the party, you're forfeiting your voice in the primaries for the largest conservative party that there is. I'm not under any delusions. None of the board members are under any delusions about the work that needs to be done. It's why we're here. And it's why we've been here, and it's why we'll continue to be here. And so that's all I'm encouraging that. I will say this, take some solace in the work that was done. You all did phenomenal work. I commend the organizers of the events that happened here in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, those things were swallowed in the press by the Washington Story, and they never, at least to my knowledge, gave proper respect or credit to the people who organized those things. And they went off very well. They should be very proud. Wayne Allen Root organized the parade from Ahern's Hotel, and there were a lot of people. I know Cindy Parker was out there, and some of our board members were out there, and it's just it's refreshing to see so many Republicans, so many conservatives, and that's the thing too. It's conservatives and Republicans and non-Republicans out there, and to see them standing up. I don't think in my lifetime I've seen anything like the kind of support that we've seen. And I can tell you personally, I saw us register voters on that very sentiment. They were excited to be a part of it. I think that excitement lives on. I think Lisa's point stands, and so does the points being made about, hey, where's the recognition for the demonstrations and the protests that went right, and the ones that exercised the First Amendment without having to cause harm to anyone. And these are things we need to be drilling home. If anybody understands anything about grassroots movements, it's not the time to slow down. It's not the time to let up. It's the time to speed up. We need to be smart. We need to be organized. We need to be effective. And that's what our role in this is. Now, keep in mind, everybody has a role to play. That's my theory. And while we're working with the party, that role is a little different maybe than the activist community, but they're not antithetical. We have responsibilities to one another. And so as we try to pursue legislative remedies and diplomatic remedies, and also demonstrate and participate in those things, activist communities will do other things. And you should know we have your back on the front that we can fight best on, and we know that you have the president's back and our back on the others. And to that end, we had a significant effort that not just on the activist side, but on the flat out regular good old fashioned organizing side, the campaign side. We did a ton of calls. We partnered with organizations. Active Republican Women was phenomenal this cycle. Bernadette Anthony, who's Stavros's wife, she came in personally and called for a lot of candidates, not just for Stavros's race. Trish Messenger, who's in the chat room, organized most of that, the relationship between the party and ARW, and I thank her very much for that. We had other people that came in and said, listen, this is my candidate. I want to support them. What can I do? We put them on the phones. We put them putting packets together. I mean, good old-fashioned politics. And we made a significant inroad into building up our data program, being able to find the non-Republican conservatives that we can turn. We came darn close in some races. We flipped a few. I had hoped to have a message for you from our newly elected state senator, Carrie Buck. We had some technical issues with that, but she did ask me to express her gratitude to the party, to the volunteers, and to the organizers who helped put her over the top. That was the squeaker. I saw a phenomenal race in April Becker's race, and in Stavros's race, and in Michael Thomas's race for county commission. We flipped several seats, and I mean, that's something to be proud of. I do have a message from Bernadette Anthony that I'd like to share with you as well. And so let's take a moment to do that.
Hi, my name is Bernadette Anthony, and I would like to thank the CCRP for partnering with the Active Republican Women of Las Vegas in providing the office space and the phone lines for this past season's campaign and election. ARW, as a part of their campaign and election platform, provided the volunteers and contributed to the funding of the phone bank. We'd also like to thank Richard McLean for all his tireless devotion to the elections and to the CCRP. We are especially thankful that he came to our November meeting and presented an overview of the election to our members. We look forward to working with Richard and everybody at CCRP on future Republican events and, of course, future elections. Thank you.
So, I mean, it's one segment. ARW definitely represents, I mean, they're a national group with local chapters, and we, of course, appreciate their cooperation, their participation. I think they serve very much as a model for what we'd like to do going forward with some of the clubs that might not be that political. We have a lot of social clubs and things, but there are donors in those clubs, and I'm asked all the time, hey, what can we do, either as a club or as an individual? And as I said earlier, everybody has a role to play. So ARW did an outstanding job. Trish, I want to say thanks again to Trish Messenger for organizing most of that, if not all of it. And I look forward to continuing partnerships like that. So moving forward, I'd like to begin presenting to you some of the information that I've been sharing with not only our trustees, but what I call stakeholders, people that are interested in not just the politics, but the result of politics in Nevada and across the country. And so we can go through, this will cover some of what I put in the agenda on the political side. Before we do, the first slide is the draft of what the new precinct program headed by Lois Choate as our precinct director will look like. We've got precinct captains that'll basically supervise either their precinct or maybe multiple precincts. These tend to be people who are more experienced and who've done canvassing, calling, that type of thing. And then there's precinct coordinators, and the precinct coordinators will basically be what you'd expect. All of us, anybody that can canvass their own precinct, anybody that knocks to their neighborhood, and that can do work with their neighbors, make contact with the Republicans and register other Republicans, sign people up for meetings and for orientations. The newest arm of the precinct program is launching in the next 2 weeks. We're already starting to take meetings to put together a virtual training seminar to start telling people what they can do in their precincts and what we can support them in doing. We're putting literature together so that people know how to contact people. I saw a comment, I'm sorry, I don't remember the gentleman's name. This has been scrolling pretty fast, so forgive me for not knowing your name, but you mentioned that it's tough to find how to volunteer. Again, a lot of people don't differentiate Republican club from Republican Party, from state Republican Party, et cetera. And so it can be daunting. And so we want to make that a lot easier. And the best way to do it is to reach out to your neighbors and to have them, build a smoother path for them to kind of get involved and to do the things that they're able to do. And that would include things like canvassing, calling, lit drops, voter registration. We need resources to help us clean up the voter rolls. If we don't know who's on our side, how do we know when there are votes cast in names of people, for the other side? And so we have a lot of work to do there, and I'll talk about that as part of my plan, but volunteers can help with that. And then, as always, membership recruiting, members that are happy and pushing forward, or maybe happy is the wrong word right now, but feel useful and are actually making a difference. People tend to want to follow those people. It's how leaders are born. And so I think you can see that in precinct by precinct, and that's what we're shooting for. So that's the quick and dirty outline, and we'll do a whole lot more detailed stuff. I think the precinct program could have a meeting all its own. And so this is what we've got for you tonight. One of the things we need to shift to in our role as a party is a better relationship with our legislature and a better relationship with what I call stakeholders. These are large business owners. These can be the average citizen. They can be schools and parent organizations, anybody that has a stake in the future of the state of Nevada. And that would include all of us, but depending on our associations and affiliations, it can be us in multiple ways. And we want to put some focus to the types of legislation that would actually further that plan. I've said this in every venue that I've been allowed to speak. We need a 25-year plan for this state, or we're going to lose the state. You don't have to look far. You can look over our western border and see a state that's a perfect example of that. They're the sixth largest world economy, and they're being overrun by socialism as we speak. And so we have a lot of work to do with regard to that. And this is legislative priorities is a way to take our platform, and these are literally extracted from our platform that was worked on by some very smart and very dedicated members of this party. The platform is adopted during the convention. This is a process that involves average everyday people and people who've been around and functioning within the party for a long time. And so it's pretty well balanced. And so we extracted these priorities from that platform. The overall topics being what you'd expect: healthcare, education. We have a new focus on election integrity. The reality is, I think if we've learned anything from this last cycle, this isn't going to clean itself up, and no one in government seems to be ready to help us do that. So we're going to have to do it and force that into action. We are drafting the first outline for an election integrity action group that will basically go out and help us clean up the voter rolls, find out things that have happened. I mean, there's a million stories out there of things that have happened. We had a hotline open for several weeks, and we manned the phones, and it just knocked me out, the number of people that had stories about integrity issues when it came to the election. The problem we have is the window to resolve those things after an election is so small, you can't even put all the evidence that you do gather into action. And so we need to fix that. And that's one of the things we need to work on. Economy and taxes, there's a big new component to that. And that's the question we need to ask our governor, which is, why do we not have a statewide continuity and recovery plan? This idea that we just keep closing businesses down and overreaching in that regard without scientific data to back it up, without a real plan, without any performance metrics. Shouldn't we have been monitoring to see what the infection rate was before and after closures, for example? I remember a press conference where the governor said he would not be targeting industries, but looking at location by location. And I haven't seen that change. And I doubt that anyone else has either. So we need to put some pressure on. And I do not think it's a bad idea to make it a partisan issue. In fact, I feel the opposite. I think we need to make sure they understand that accountability and transparency also includes protecting our businesses, protecting our economy, and protecting the chain of supplies to the people of this state. If that's not the governor's job, I don't know what is. And frankly, we're seeing failure at a high level there. So the new component to economy and taxes as part of it is to look at the safety, the security, the continuity of the economy. And that is the government's responsibility. So at least to have a plan, right? And so we're going to be looking at that and meeting with some stakeholders on that. Our goals for 2020, as a lot of you know, not everyone will, and some of our new members may want to run through this really quickly. Of course, it's to increase Republican registration, build community outreach, defend the incumbent Republicans, flip some seats, and win targeted elections. And so we did okay on some of those. We didn't do as well on some as we would like, and there's definitely a lot of work left to do. I'd ask you, along with what the chair and the vice chair have said tonight, is not to be disheartened. Look at the success that we've had. Let's look at how we can multiply that success and do so going forward. And to that end, we've come up with new priorities for 2021, including the legislative priorities. By the way, the list I showed you on the previous slide is a partial list. There's a much more extensive list. We're looking at them as what we can handle in terms of a new session coming into Carson City, and trying to focus on the things that we can actually put some energy and attention on the floor of the legislature right now. So the legislative priorities will play a key role. Unity within the party. How many times have you been to a meeting and you thought there's an awful lot of arguing for people that are supposed to be on the same side? I could expand on that, and I'm not shy about it. I mean, there's pettiness, there's all kinds of things, and like I said, the frustration is real. And at a time like this, when we're seeing rampant corruption and there's not really a resolution to it, we look for the traditional redress. We go to court. We do all the things we're supposed to do, and we're basically ignored every step of the way. So people will begin to entertain their worst ideas about the system and perhaps give in even to their worst fears. And what happens there is the breakdown of unity. We are already the minority party, and we cannot continue to slide into the abyss, or there's really not much that's going to save the state of Nevada or the United States. And so unity is on our list, and it will be at every step of the way. recruiting and training candidates and campaigns. We've got a lot of offers from some very intelligent people with some very noteworthy organizations who want to come in and help us train and help us do some of what our candidates and our campaigns can benefit from. And so we're going to take advantage of that and see where we can put sessions together and bring people in. Fixing the talent gap, that's about a combination of our activist community, our consultants, even top-level managers. There are a lot of needs that could be met by resources here in Nevada, and I see every campaign cycle people leaving the state to find things that exist here. And what happens is you may bring a great designer in or a great field director or something, but if they don't know Nevada and they don't know the area that you're campaigning in, you're basically putting yourself at a huge disadvantage for a small advantage. And there's a program that I'd like to pursue that will basically help to bring some more of talent into not just the party, but into the campaigns and into the everyday activity of the grassroots organizations. And a lot of that's going to come from the grassroots organizations. So bridging that gap means bringing some people that might not necessarily have an outlet for their talent, whether it be a creative talent or otherwise, and giving them something meaningful to do and having them help and be helped in the process. And then I always say data planning. We need to keep building our system, keep doing what we've been doing for the last year and a half, and fix the issues with our voter registration deficiency, fix the issues with the lack of data that we have, fix the issues with the lack of access that we have. So when there are challenges in the election and things like that, we can get to them much more quickly. Party involvement. So what are we going to be doing in the short and midterm? Consulting with the legislature, with our legislators, having them consult with us, making sure we understand what's going on up there and that they understand what it is that we're looking for. It's the fundamental responsibility of the party, is to have that relationship between the people and our legislators. And not just Republican legislators, by the way, but especially Republican legislators. We are going to be assisting as best we can in drafting legislation, and we've been invited to those conversations by a few of our incumbents, and I think that's a new and powerful development for the party. If you as a grassroots organizer become involved effectively and efficiently with the county party, and in the meantime, we're also effectively and efficiently involved in drafting legislation, you just moved the people, the people closest to the needs, closest to the issues, and closest to the solutions into the dialogue in a way that is, frankly, the county party, state party, and RNC's responsibility. So that's one of the things we're going to take on. I mentioned roundtables, town halls, and some other things. Also, our precinct and field program. Those are all being developed and pushed. We are, to Lisa's point from earlier in the chat room, we're at a point where we're not competing for resources anymore. And we've got all these groups available and talented and ready and energized. And so we need to put them into action. And the expression I use is 12 months a year, every day. We've got to get on this. We've got to stay on it. And we've got to not slide an inch. And we've got more than enough people and more than enough money available to us to do it. We just need to get organized and do it to an effective end. Stakeholder recruitment and involvement. Again, stakeholder is a broad term. It can be anybody with a vested interest in the state, whether it be through your membership in an organization, your ownership of a business, you're being a parent, you're being a citizen, you're being just about anything that you are. And so stakeholders basically get to come in and on specific topics, dialogue with us and participate with us and us with them. And it's building the same relationship as at the precinct level, but with organizations. And that's basically what that means. And so that's definitely on our list. What should you expect next from us as your county party? Precinct coordinator training will begin within the next 2 weeks. We're probably going to start doing that on Zoom and virtually because of obvious reasons. And so, but we're excited about that. We're working on literature and getting the materials printed for that now. And so that'll be up within the next 2 weeks. Grassroots recruiting and involvement. I've had a number of frank and very energetic conversations with people who understand grassroots and who understand the community in a way that you can't unless you are those things. And so we're looking to get them involved and to be involved in what they're doing. And this honestly needs to be a two-way street. If their organization is doing something and that something is good for us, we're going to help them do that as well. We're not just looking for them to become our resources, but we need to make the party, the incumbents, the stakeholders, and every resource we come in contact with, we need to make those available to them as well. And so that's something that we'll be working on fervently in the next few weeks. online roundtables, town halls, informational updates starting in February. I guess technically we already started since we're doing this, but on a regular basis starting in February. Improvements on the website and with social media. We've been asked for a calendar. Calendaring is tricky right now because we usually rely on the club's calendars to populate our calendar, and they are having some issues with venues and things just as we are, and so that can be a little tricky, but I've been asked enough. I heard the request, and so that'll be put back into action. Obviously using the website and social media for recruiting and engagement. I'll be building trustee pages so you can contact your trustee. Your trustee will become, just as your precinct coordinator and director and your precinct director is now, they will become a conduit for you on any number of issues. And we just had our trustee elections. We've got a phenomenal board, some new faces, some returning trustees, and we're very excited about that. And so we're going to put some momentum and some mechanism behind that online and see if we can't make that just a little easier. Going again to the gentleman's comment from earlier about it being difficult to find how to plug yourself in. That is both bad and easy to fix, and that's what we're going to do. And so those are some of the mechanisms for that. So what should we expect? 2021, there's only one set of elections in 2021, and that is the municipal elections in Boulder City. 1 week from tonight, the filing opens for municipal candidates in Boulder City, and we are going to get all over that. Granted, we're still organizing and we're still wanting to do things on the state level and the county level, but in the meantime, we're going to help our Republican candidates in Boulder City. And so that's one of the first things we're going to be doing. Obviously, it's late in the season begins next week, so we will probably not be doing recruiting in that respect unless there's a race where we need to find a better candidate or a good candidate. Maybe there's a race without a candidate. And then if there's any training or resources that they request from us or that we offer they might be interested in, we're definitely going to be doing that over the cycle. The entire election cycle for Boulder City is contained in half the year, so there's a lot we can do in that amount of time. We need a 12-month-a-year field program. We need to be communicating, even when it's not an election year, even when it's not about politics. We need to know our neighbors. We need to know the people who are willing and able to help in this pursuit of bettering our county and our state and our country. And that is not something that you shut down after every election. It's something that needs to be up and running. We're losing a tremendous amount of momentum shutting down every time an election ends, and so we're going to fix that. Election integrity action team I described earlier. We're definitely going to wind that up and start getting involved in the investigation of what is going on, pushing legislation to fix some of what's going on, and trying to bring light to the people who are opposing election integrity, because there are people actively working against us having a clean and clear, clean and transparent election. And that's not acceptable. And so that's going to be happening in the near future. And then stakeholder involvement, which I went into earlier, is definitely something to expect in the near term. And so that wraps up my update on the political front. Unfortunately, while I'm looking at the screen, I can't be looking at the chat room. I'll scroll back up and see if there's any other questions that we need to answer. Again, feel free. I mean, it's hard in a chat room to get all this done, but go to the website, click on the contact us, send us the question. We'll put it in the queue. We'll make sure we get back to you as soon as we can. And that's with any interest that you have. So I'd like to hand it off to our Community Relations Director, Danny Vela, for his statement and update.
Hi, my fellow Republicans in the county party. I just wanted to let you all know that I am extremely excited and honored to be working as your Community Relations Director for the upcoming term. I know that this year, with all of the plans that we have in place at the county party that the executive board is putting in place, we're looking forward to a very bright future. I'm excited to be a part of it. My goal is to just work with each and every one of you to ensure that the future election, that all of our candidates that are coming up have the biggest support and a unified party that will work at the county level and beyond to make sure that they get into office and that our conservatives all across our great county are heard and that we're winning. That's the most important thing. So let's keep up the good fight. Let's unite and continue pushing forward.
Thank you, Danny. On behalf of the entire board, all of our board members want to say thank you so much for coming tonight. I hope this has given you a little bit of a glimpse in what we've been doing. We can definitely do more of these if you have specific questions about what we talked about tonight or suggestions. We definitely would like to hear of it. We can't wait for the in-person meetings. We have to continue working. I hope you understand that's what this meeting was about. And we will continue with the fight that Danny just called us to. And if there's anything that we can do in the meantime, if you've got an organization or a movement up and running and you need our support or assistance, we're here. We hope we can count on you as well. In the meantime, I want to say thank you to everybody on the board, everybody in the membership of the Clark County Republican Party, to Clark County Republicans across the county, across the country, and just say thank you very much for everything that you're doing, everything that you've done. Thanks to our president, of course. We are working on some things that I'm not going to say in an open forum like this to try to show our appreciation tomorrow for the president's service. And I'll put something out to some of the groups so that they can understand what we're doing. But we're just getting started. It's important. It's very important, more than anything else. If you take nothing else from this meeting, just know this is not the end of anything. This is the beginning, and this is where everybody gets to be involved, and we need you. So thank you very much for spending your time with us this evening, and we look forward to seeing you at the in-person meeting as soon as we can arrange that. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon.